Growing up, I used to love making zombie films, running around with my friends and a camera and buckets of fake blood. But filmmaking has come a really long way, so I'm going back to where it all began, the street where I grew up, to make a zombie film that my 9-year-old self wouldn't believe. Looking back, I don't think I was trying to make anything for people to watch, but just doing the best I could to create an imaginary world. But I was never able to really realize big visions. Mostly my ideas would just stay in my head. I want to get back to those ideas and actually see them on the screen. Let me tell you how this all started. I'd been playing around with Marble from World Labs, which is a tool that allows you to create a full 3D environment from a single image. The thing that I liked the most was you could put in a 360 panorama, which means you could quickly recreate a real place, which is pretty cool. So I'd been around my town taking some of these panoramas and then messing with them in Google's Nano Banana. It felt good to start with something real as a base and then build on it and turn it into a fantasy or sci-fi world, and then Marble would do the full recreation. But that's just me messing around. If I wanted to make a film, I needed something deeper, and this thing hit me like a train. I could see myself standing on my old street and watching it transform around me into what I used to imagine it being as a kid when I was making these films. Crumbling houses, burned out cars, and tentacles everywhere. I needed to do this. And this is my street. This is where we shot everything. We just used what we had, whatever was lying around to make what we wanted to make. Still strange being back and thinking about all of these things we used to do here. And while I was there, I captured an HDRI, my 360-degree panorama, and headed home to mess with it. My top rule here was to make sure no AI tool overtook what I had in my head. We don't want these tools creating for us. We want to make sure that we have control. So I generated an absolute ton of images. Some of them have things that I want and a bunch of stuff that I don't. Then I used those images in layers in Photoshop, isolating parts that I actually wanted to keep and throwing away all the rest. And even then the whole process took a couple of days. Turns out I'm quite picky. Once it was done, it was actually pretty cool. So I threw that into Marble. The environments from Marble don't have the fidelity of traditional 3D assets or a well-trained Gaussian splat, but they do have speed. Doing this traditionally in VFX software would take weeks. You're talking photogrammetry scanning, asset creation, texturing, lighting, post-process. This hurtles filmmakers into previs while that initial spark of inspiration is burning bright. So I loaded my splat into the Jet Set app, which we use for virtual production and camera tracking, and then me and Dan headed back to my street for the shoot. So we're going to go out and shoot, and we're going to make this little zombie epic, which is crazy because I am a man with a mortgage and a child, and I'm going to go and make a zombie film. We had the cinema camera with us, but after a few test shots, we decided to do everything on the iPhone alone. This meant the rig was really lightweight and we could do some really big or fast camera moves. If we had ideas, we could test them instantly. Having the Marble environment in the phone was kind of a surreal experience. It's like looking at an alternate universe. And if you're interested in virtual production but not sure where to start, you need to have a look at the Virtual Filmmaker's Playbook. It's a course where we make a Hollywood-level short film and take you every step of the way, from camera tracking with an iPhone to destruction effects and character animation. It's currently 50% off, and we're giving out a free lesson from the course on how to match the light on your actors to any virtual environment. So head over using the link in the description, but not before you've seen this zombie film I'm making. So we've been out filming and we captured all the shots that we needed. It actually turned out really well. I was quite surprised. All of the tracking worked. We didn't have to battle the weather too much. It's been kind of great. And now I'm going to throw those clips into Beeble. That's going to do all of the roto for me, and we're going to relight the footage. We used their 3.0 release, which is just incredible because it inferences from the 4K footage, and it did an amazing job of the relighting. The normal map sharpness alone was just incredible. So many parts of this project have been a real throwback for me. Even simply going into Unreal Engine and animating some of the 3D zombies just took me right back to when I used to do clay animation. I'm no stranger to stop motion, and this just felt kind of like going back in time and doing that again. Getting all of the lighting elements to match was actually one of the more tricky parts of the workflow, because typically Gaussians don't affect 3D objects, so we needed to make sure that they all felt like they were part of the same world. So I used my 360-degree panorama, which is the same thing I used to generate the Marble environment, to emit light onto all of the 3D objects, so everything had the same color. But because it's not an HDR image, it can't recreate the hard light coming from the street light, so I added a point light into the scene to make sure my 3D characters had the same lighting as my environment. I did some extra passes for shadows to make sure it looked like my feet connected with the ground, and then after everything was rendered and put into DaVinci Resolve, it was edited, sound design was added, and then of course I had to add a little VHS look to make sure it had that old school vibe. There's a quality that old things have that's really hard to quantify. Looking back at them, there's a sense of nostalgia, and it's really hard to capture. So I'm not expecting that this film would have that X factor, but it's just been great to go back and make something with an almost childlike level of freedom. I've honestly been so happy working on this project. I keep thinking about my younger self and how I would react if I knew what was going to be possible, or what I would have made if I had then the tools I have now. Well, probably something like this. Round 2. Kids now are going to grow up with these tools kind of none the wiser about how limiting things used to be. That's okay, as long as the things that we are making have soul. I'll see you on the next one.